getting back to Genesis, still dealing with family dynamics. And we're in year 2, going into year 3 of the famine. And we're going to go back into 48 just a bit, where Jacob was about to have a discussion with Joseph, and he was about to bless Ephraim and Manasseh. And something key happened during that exchange, and we want to start there, and then we'll get into 49, because 49 is when he calls all of his sons to have a word with him, with each one of them, because he basically wanted to bless them, but he also wanted to have as if it were a heart-to-heart with each of his sons. And that's something that sometimes not all of us get the opportunity to have a heart-to-heart with our fathers. But I before we get into that, I want to go back to the scenario where Joseph was with his father, and we're going to see something in 48. It says, and I'll read it. A while later, someone told Joseph that his father was ill. He took with him his 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. Manasseh is the older, and Ephraim's the younger. Jacob was told, "Here comes your son Joseph." Israel gathered his strength and sat up in bed. Jacob said to Joseph, "El Shaddai appeared to me at Luz in the land of Canaan and blessed me, saying to me, I will make you fruitful and numerous. I will make of you a group of people, and I will give this land to your descendants to possess forever. I will give this land to your descendants to possess forever. Now, your 2 sons who were born to you in the land of Egypt before I came to you in Egypt are mine. The grandfather says the 2 grandsons are his. We're going to find out why he said that. The children born to you after them will be yours. Again, the grandfather told his son that all the grandchildren, or the male grandchildren born to you after I've received Ephraim and Manasseh, they'll be yours. They'll be counted to yours. And the reason he did this was because the Most High told him that your descendants will possess the land forever. And if we remember going back, Joseph's brothers told their father that something befell him awful and that he was dead. Keep that in mind too. It says, the children born to you after them will be yours, but for purposes of inheritance, they are to be counted with their older brothers. So not only were Ephraim and Manasseh going to be treated as if they were Jacob's sons, the sons born to Joseph afterwards, they also would share in the inheritance. He's setting up something here, and also he's about to break tradition. And there's nothing wrong with tradition, but sometimes tradition can stagnate growth. That's the nicest way I know how to say it. Tradition has its place, but in terms of dealing with the Most High, everything should be fluid and flexible, because the Most High moves and removes, inserts, deletes, injects, rejects as he wills. The Most High does not bend his neck to tradition. Tradition, along with everything else, bows to the Most High. And it should be that way in our lives as well, in every aspect of our lives. And that's easier said than done. And sometimes in changing up tradition, it causes us consternation. It causes us some discomfort. It causes us to realize we're out of our element. But are we out of our element? No, we're not, because see, if we're trying to follow the teachings and instructions, you're always in focus as you're walking them out in life. There's a lot that was going on here, and we've read this chapter 100 times. And every time we read it, something is illuminated more. There was a lot going on because Jacob realized he didn't have too much longer. And he wanted to visit. See, remember again when Joseph told his brothers when they were going back to get their dad and bring everybody, he says, listen, don't argue among yourselves. And all of that's tied into this too. See, remember earlier when I was talking about how their quality of life had improved? Yes, it did. But there was also some conversations that took place, and some things each individual kept in their heart. And Jacob, of course he was overjoyed when he found out Joseph was alive. But he also remembered the fib that his sons told him. Now, in reading the scriptures, we know that it was a joyous time, and they forgave one another verbally, and of course, Jacob, he went through. He was, as we say nowadays, I'm sure each one of them was feeling a certain kind of way throughout that transition, and sometimes we feel a certain kind of way with family. But as we're learning here, it is not really good to always base your plan of action on how you feel. Because we're learning the older we get, the more we begin to realize our feelings are fleeting. And they're fleeting for a reason. You know, and I go back again to the example. Sometimes, you know, all of us coming up, you know, our parents would tell us, you know, to do something and or to stop doing something, and we keep doing it. We keep doing it. And eventually, you know, they get tired of telling you, stop, don't. You know, after a while, you might, you know, get your hand popped or, you know, whatever happened, you know. And as we got older, we would say things. And it might get us in some terrible trouble. And before they correct you, sometimes they would say, well, look, just right now, well, I'll use myself as an example. I would irritate my folks so much because of, you know, my deviousness. Sometimes they would say, boy, just get out of my sight right now. Now, I wasn't off the hook because they said get out of my sight, but, you know, I had irritated them so, and I got that talk from both parents. In other words, it's like, you know, if I correct you now, I'm going to go to jail. So they waited a while until some of the disappointment, frustration, anger, until it subsided so that they could mete out the correct amount of punishment. But punishment was coming. And to make things worse, in my ignorance, which at that time was probably arrogance, you know, I actually wanted to judge the measure of the punishment. And I would say, well, golly, all I did was, and I know that further confounded them. Let hold it. I'm the parent. You're the child. Now, my mother would do that. My father would just hit a little harder. You know. Why am I saying all of that? Because see, when they begin to come clean with their dad, telling them Joseph is alive, on the way back, I'm sure they were discussing, because Joseph told them, don't argue among yourselves. But then I said, well, who gonna tell them? Well, it wasn't my idea. You know how it go. We know how it go. Well, it wasn't my idea to begin with. Yeah, but you went along with it. We're all guilty. And of course, you know, he was like, what? He was what? What? Yeah, well, he wants you to come. And again, the quality of life, they went from lack to everything is good again. Everything in life is good until it's not. And that's in each one of our situations. Right now, your business is doing fine. Your retirement is going well. Life is good until it's not. On the flip side, oh my, can't buy a job, can't get a job, I'm hungry, I'm tired, I'm dead. Life is bad until it's not. And I'm saying it that way for a reason. Folks, both scenarios are called L-I-F-E. And see, you don't get when I'm sharing a lot, and again, I'm not throwing rocks or stones or throwing shade. More reality needs to be shared in houses of worship. People need to be told the truth. Yes, you made a quality decision joining the family of the Most High, but you will not live a life of ease. There are challenges that are coming. This is not a gloom and doom. This is a reality message. And the scriptures, or the Holy Writ as some of us like to call it, is full of challenges. It's full of life. We're doing people a disservice with this type of fairy tale kingdom life that's promoted. We're not helping people. We're hurting them. We're actually retarding them. We're stunning their growth. And so when we do that, this is why people get confused. People decide, I don't want to do what I was created to do. I want to do something else. I want to be something else. Some of us don't want to grow up. The children born to you after them will be yours, but for purposes of inheritance, they are to be counted with their older brothers. Now, as for me, when I came to Padan, Rachel died suddenly, and we were traveling through the land of Canaan while we were still some distance from Ephah. So I buried her there on the way to Ephah, also known as Bethlehem. Then Israel noticed Joseph's sons and asked, "Whose of these?" Joseph answered his father, "They are my sons, whom God has given me here." Jacob replied, "I want you to bring them here to me so that I can bless them." Now Israel's eyes were dim with age, so that he could not see. Joseph brought his sons near to him, and he kissed them and embraced them. Israel said to Joseph, I never expected to see even you again, but God has allowed me to see your children too. Now, this is why I brought up the scenario about traditions. Remember now, yes, they came clean to their father. And I'm not saying that Jacob or Israel, because it's interchangeable, Israel is the new name that was given to him, because that denotes, and we all learn, when your name is changed, when the Most High changes your name, it denotes a change in character. And remember now, when Jacob and Esau, there's something going on here with Jacob and Esau. All of that's coming into play here as well. I'm telling you, this is something here. Keep that in mind as well. Israel said to Joseph, I never expected to see even you again, but Yah has allowed me to see your children too. Joseph brought them out from between his legs and prostrated himself on the ground. Then Joseph took them both, Ephraim in his right hand toward Israel's left hand, doing the traditional thing. Tradition says the oldest, the right hand go on the oldest head. Watch this now. Then Joseph took them both, Ephraim in his right hand toward Israel's left hand. That's the traditional thing to do. and Manasseh in his left hand toward Israel's right hand. That's tradition too. And brought them near to him. But Israel put out his right hand and laid it on the head of the younger one, Ephraim, and put his left hand on the head of Manasseh. He intentionally crossed his hands even though Manasseh was the firstborn. Now see, all of that made sense to all of the people back then and there, because that's the way church folk do stuff. See, we don't realize how much tradition has seeped into our following Torah. And if we're not careful, tradition can become a stumbling block to you accurately, to us accurately walking out Torah. Anybody see that movie Coming to America? Now I'm not putting that with this, but I'm just saying, in the movie though, the wife, the character that played the wife, she was telling Eddie, because Eddie found out he had a son out of wedlock, and he was coming back to America to get his son. And of course, it was news to him, and so he had to tell his wife, and of course, that's not going to go over well in the beginning anyway. But she asked him something key, because he kept saying, well, in whatever that land was they was in, what this is that, and she said, listen, is that coming from you, or is that coming from your dad? And did you do what you did for you, or did you do that for whatever the land was they was from? In other words, she was saying, you're continuing. You said that when you became king, you would be different, but you're following tradition. And I thought that was interesting, because I had been reading this and all of that, but I wasn't reading this while I was watching the movie. While I was watching the movie, I was watching the movie. So then, fast forward to the son, because in the movie, Wesley Snipes' character had a daughter, and Wesley wanted his daughter to marry Eddie Murphy's character's son. Again, because that's tradition again. And of course, just going by the eye gate, everything was like, oh yeah, that's done deal. But of course, the way they would do the movie, again, the girl that was, I guess, his barber or whatever, for lack of a better word, they really had begin to develop a rapport. The son, Eddie's son. But of course, coming out of poverty, a king come back and say, hey, I'm your daddy, and I come to take you home. And who wouldn't take that? You out, scalping tickets, and now you get to go back to some land and live like a prince. But all of this was based on tradition. But long story short, to get back to tradition, of course, he had agreed to first marry Wesley Snipes' daughter, and I don't remember what their character names were. But of course, he realized that he was really in love, what we call love, the Hollywood version of love. He was in love with the girl that was cutting his hair. So he went back, they went back to America, and Eddie, of course, was upset until, again, I think his wife pointed out, hey, you didn't marry one of your countrymen. You married me. So you came over to America and got me, and now I'm here, you know. And so the son said, well, no, I'm not going to marry one of these country ladies, natives. Well, I'm not going to marry the one that y'all traditions say I should marry. I like the lady that cut my hair. I don't, she had some title. I don't know what it was. But he went back, and so that broke tradition. Eddie comes back to America to get his son, and they was getting married in some little juke joint church type thing. One of them Las Vegas type setups, I guess. And so he realized, hey, why am I getting upset with him? I broke tradition. He broke tradition. And of course, again, they say they broke tradition for what Hollywood calls love. And I'm saying it that way for a reason. Because along with tradition, our idea of love might not be what we think it is. And this is where tradition, if you don't follow Yah, can mess you up. Now, I'm not against institutions that have been set up, because things have been set up here the way they are for things to run smoothly. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying in the days to come, we're going to have to follow him more explicitly and stop deferring to how the way things always been. Because, see, following the way things always been have us in the mess we in today. Again, I am not against tradition. But everything should fall in line after following his instructions. Even technology, all the stuff that we use. I was talking with one of the members a little earlier, and I said, technology is good, and I know in business you either get with it or you get left behind. But it's getting more and more dangerous to just openly say things. There's going to come a time where you could possibly be sued for what you say over the airwaves. In fact, this thing, what they call it, cancel culture, that's a mindset of people that, if you say certain things, they want to come against you. And, of course, everybody's trying to hide behind, free speech and things of that nature. I'm telling you, things are going to get called into question because traditionally, people have always been able to say what they want to say. This is America. Well, you can say what you want to say, but now you may get sued. Even playing music, everything, stuff's copyright. If you play somebody's song, even churches, I think you pay some kind of fee or something. and I mean, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to be sued, because that's a game within itself. And again, I'm not against government. I'm not against law and order and all of that. But everything costs us. Get back to this. You said, Barry, how do you get all of that into this? I'm telling you, it was happening. See, all of this was going through their heart and mind when they were going through. Yes, he was glad that Joseph was alive, but he also realized my sons lied to me. And that hurts a parent, whether they say anything or not. You know, when we were little and we do bad stuff, oh, isn't that so cute? But then as you start growing up, it's like, my God, you still doing jacked up stuff. When you gonna grow up? It ain't cute no more. And a word of advice to everybody, you know, because it is cute. And they so lovely. But you got to remind them of, you know, that's funny in here. That's funny among family. But people on the outside, they're not going to find that cute or funny. I know that's what we were told when we would do certain things. Yeah, well, okay, that's all right in here. But don't do that out there, because that can bring you some trouble. Getting back to having real, candid conversations with your loved ones. Let me go a little further. He intentionally crossed his hands, even though Manasseh was the firstborn. Then he blessed Joseph. The God in whose presence my fathers Abraham, Isaac lived, the God who has been my own shepherd all my life to this day. And folks, we all know the Most High is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Let me read again what he said. Because see, for him to make that statement, he cut through tradition. He cut through everything. Which is why he crossed his hands up, but we'll get to that. Then he blessed Joseph, the God in whose presence my fathers, Abraham and Isaac, lived, the God who has been my own shepherd all my life long to this day, the angel who rescued me, and likewise my fathers, Abraham and Isaac, who they were and what they stood for, and may they grow into teeming multitudes on the earth. Now, listen at this next verse, because here's how Joseph reacted. See, Joseph was a good churchgoer. And I'm not throwing shade. I'm not throwing shade. But he went by all of what he had learned. So let me read that, because see, a lot of us can, now this is where we can insert ourselves where Joseph is concerned. I'm not saying we're on par with him. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying we could, because of tradition. Because a lot of us have fell out about tradition. And tradition don't necessarily have anything to do with Torah. I pray that come alive one day. When Joseph saw that his father was laying his right hand on Ephraim's head, it displeased him. See, that's how somebody can walk up to a leader and just give them what for. Oh, you didn't know church folk do that? Oh, yeah. You're going to get their opinion whether you want it or not. forgetting God's order. I remember at this place for umpteen years, and I ain't never seen no mess like that before. I mean, people just say all kind of stuff out of their face. And you know, not every leader is necessarily mature. Some will give back to you what you gave to them. Some will. Said it displeased him. When Joseph saw that his father was laying his right hand on Ephraim's head, it displeased him. And he lifted up his father's hand to remove it from Ephraim's head and place it instead on Manasseh's head. Here you go. And I was you know, I think about the many times I called myself trying to correct my parents because I thought I knew better. And at times my intentions were good. But they were going to always be the parent, and I was always going to be the child. Grown man. And I'm just using myself. You think about your own life when you might have said something out of turn to your parents. Say it displeased him. And so he gonna try to set the record straight, because after all, he's the governor. Pop, I'm running things. Hey, y'all were in poverty. I brought you here. I set you up. You live in large, and this how you gonna play me, Dad? Oh no, it must be he's old and his sight is. He don't mean to do that, because that's the way. We have always done it this way. Tradition says the right hand always goes on the father. Everyone knows that. Surely you've forgotten, Father. When Joseph saw that his father was laying his right hand on Ephraim's head, it displeased him, and he lifted up his father's hand and removed it from Ephraim's head and placed it instead on Manasseh's head. Joseph said to his father, "Don't do it that way, my father, for this one is the firstborn." Listen at that. You know, and again, listen, I'm talking about him, and I just told you that on several occasions, I was talking out of the side of my neck to my folks, and sometimes thinking I was right. Lord have mercy. Joseph said to his father, "Don't do it that way, my father, for this one is the firstborn. Put your right hand on his head." Now you barking out orders to the one that planted the seed for him to be here. You know, and then I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to keep moving, and don't nobody be waiting for me at the car. You know, when they talk about, I hear a lot of people say, well, you know, and don't get me wrong, motherhood is wonderful. Motherhood is wonderful. But there ain't a one of us here that didn't come here by the seed of a man. Let me say that again, because the church needs to understand that. When Pastor used to say a man is a world unto himself, that's what he was actually saying. But because of the way he was put together, he wouldn't say it like I just said it. Men carry the seed. Men carry the seed. Mm, mm, mm. Mm. Don't do it that way, my father. This one is the firstborn. Put your right hand on his head. But his father refused and said, I know that, my son. I know it. He too will become a people, and he too will be great. Nevertheless, his younger brother will be greater than he, and his descendants will grow into many nations. Wasn't Jacob younger than Esau? And we all know what the Most High said, Israel I love. Esau I hated. You know, when when Jacob and Esau were a lot younger, I had this. I had read it, but I had it. I was having a discussion with a older brother, and I just love it. And we were talking about this very situation, and their father told them, "Don't marry the girls from Canaan." One son listened. Esau didn't. And Esau already had a couple of wives. And guess what? After he saw his brother obeyed his father, he went and got another one from Canaan. See, now that's one time he should have followed tradition. What your father say, do it. But sometimes we do what we gonna do. Now, Israel got all of this going on in his head. Let me read a little further. I don't know if I'm going to get to 49. I hope I will. Then he added this blessing on them. That day, Israel will speak of you in his own blessings by saying, may God make you like Ephraim and Manasseh. Thus he put Ephraim ahead of Manasseh. And I wrote up here, and then I highlighted, I said, Yah reversed our tradition. And see, a lot of times in our personal lives and as a congregation of believers, sometimes he might switch some stuff up, but we so comfortable. It's like I said again, you might make the best apple pie, but maybe he don't want apple pie every day, 24/7. Nobody say your apple pie, yes, your apple pie is world famous, but every situation don't call for apple pie. And it's the same way sometimes with what we call our walking out Torah. Because then I got to ask the question, whose Torah are you walking out? You know, nowadays, a very popular thing among people, and this is another one of those trigger words. People want to tell you, well, I'm gonna share my truth. Well, isn't that just another way of saying, I'm going to give you some words from my perspective? And is my truth the truth? I tell you, tradition has helped us, but it has hindered us as well. If you want to grow, if you want to really mature, tradition have its place, but tradition is not over his instructions. Nothing is over his instructions. Israel then said to Joseph, "You see that I am dying, but God will be with you and will bring you back to the land of your ancestors. Moreover, I am giving to you a Shechem, shoulder, ridge, share of the city of Shechem, more than to your brothers. I captured it from Emory with my sword and bow." See, remember now, when Joseph reconciled with his brothers, he gave them all stuff. But he gave Benjamin his replacement. He gave Benjamin even more. Joseph did that. And his dad, again, that has something to do with why he said Ephraim and Manasseh's going to be his mine. All the little ones you have after that, they yours. But for the sake of inheritance, that they'll get something on par with what I'm giving my boys. I got 11 minutes, so I probably won't get all to 49. But I want you to see here. See, what am I trying to convey? What I'm saying to you is, even in your own life, realize that we have to live a fluid life, not so rigid. We're not robots. You can't serve the Most High like a robot. And I know some of you say, "Well, Barry, I'm not robotic. I'm all in my feelings." Well, cut back on some of the feeling. Insert some logic. And I'm not talking about 2 + 2 is 4. I'm talking about, "Father, I have read your word. Help me to understand what it is that you're actually saying. Give me the essence of it, so that as I practice this," see, we're all practicing because we don't get it right. And then the stuff that we do well, how are you going to grow the other aspects of your life if you never exercise them? Even in our service to the Most High. An older gentleman said to me, he says, "Listen, man, look at it this way. The Most High has laid out before you a banquet table. But guess what? We got to serve ourselves." Think about it. Remember that place in, I don't know if they still up, and I'm not going to call the name because I ain't trying to get sued, and I know they ain't sending us a check. So, but there's a restaurant, and you pay a certain amount of money, and you can eat all the seafood. Of course, some of that stuff we don't eat anymore, but you could go there, man, and eat all day long. Get up there. They got a spread. And I know local, they got a place that church folk like to, I guess they still in business. I don't know. I'm not going to call no names, but You go there and it's banquet style. You fix your own plate. Folks, in the United States, we have become so entitled. We want everything. We want the spread. And some of the stuff we don't even like, but we still want it on there because we want everybody to see that this table has been prepared for me. But then we want somebody to fix our plate. Well, see, the thing with the banquet style setup is you pick what you want. So if we've become so spoiled, what if they fix your plate and they put all the stuff that you don't care for on it, which is something that somebody like me would do? See, some people will put on your plate what's good for you. And usually what's good for us, we don't want. We only want what's good to us. Good to us going in. Kind of rough coming out. Anybody ever ate some real hot tamales? Everything that he has set up is for us to partake in. We just have to find out, Father, how should I be using this? There's a purpose. We're still trying to figure out what some things are for. We're trying to still figure out what some things are for. And when we go ahead and we use them and we take them, we'll make a mess. Is everybody okay? Get us some. Okay, all right. We'll make a mess of things. Get us some water. Moreover, I'm giving to you a Shechem, shoulder, ridge, share of the city of Shechem, more than your brothers. I captured it from Emmanuel with my sword and bow. I'm down to my last 5 minutes.